This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. The Juan Soto chase hitting a fever pitch. Offers being made as we speak. Meetings occurring this weekend, or maybe not. The money going from $600 million to $750 million in a couple of days. That's a lot of money. That's more money than Shohei Ohtani got, who hits and pitches really well and might not pitch so well anymore and dislocated his shoulder falling on second base in the World Series, but still a lot of money. When Jack Curry got on the mic on Monday and was like, this is going to exceed Ohtani's value, we were like, present day value. I know. I knew that already. $46 million. And now it's like, actually, it's going to maybe exceed the totality of the contract by 50, by 100 million. We looking at 800 for Juan Soto. Our team's actually bidding at this point. If Steve Cohen is going to outbid anybody by $50 million, why are we all still talking? Yep. Either way, I can almost guarantee you that we'll have a resolution to the Juan Soto chase. And we sure do know the Yankees plan B, so we'll talk about that too. It's coming Saturday evening or maybe Sunday afternoon or perhaps Sunday night. And then we're on the podcast Monday. And we're on the podcast a lot of times during the winter meetings. But what's actually changed between Monday's show and today's show? A whole lot of whirlwinds worth of speculation. So we're going to try to talk through it today as quickly as we can. A little half-hour podcast updating everybody on what we know. You can find us here every Monday and Thursday, 2 o'clock Eastern. You can also find us more often than that during the winter meetings. So subscribe so that you get the notifications when we're actually going live, because it might be mornings. It might be evenings. It could be random. Either way, Juan Soto should be off the board at that point. And we'll all be better for it because Thomas Carannante, welcome to the show. I obviously want Juan Soto. We've said this all along. Easiest thing for the Yankees to do, sign the generational talent who was already on your team last year and sent you to the World Series. But just get the contract done. Get it done. Sign him or don't, because we've got business to attend to. And we saw the Yankees with Juan Soto last year, and it was pretty great. But the defense left something to be desired, and $750 is nothing. $750 million is a lot of money. So let's finish it by Sunday, and let's leave the winter meetings with the roster looking either strengthened for the next 15 years with Juan Soto or different meaningfully.
Do something. I have long said, hi everybody, it's now officially reached levels of ridiculousness that I think it's bad for everybody, right? Like whether it's other teams driving up the price to screw another team, whether it's somebody actually willing to pay that much money for Juan Soto, so on and so forth. Like, I love Juan Soto. I want Juan Soto to be a Yankee for life for 15 years and $750 million, which is what we're hearing. The latest from Jeff Passan and Buster Olney. It's just, if they do it, great. If they don't, like, I'm equally fine with it.
Ken Rosenthal said it too on Foul Territory. This could actually reach 15 years and $750 million. I was like, okay, that's great. Everyone is saying that now. So that's one of those, like, look, might not be the case. I've been wrong before. I don't know. But it's one of those media literacy things that I think people ignore too often. When all reporters are converging, just speculating on a number, it's probably going to be pretty close to that number. Like, Buster Olney said it, and everybody was like, oh, man, Buster's being crazy. Look at Jeff Passan in the same article, sort of walks it back and is like, yeah, it could be 700, could be in that range. Soto's a great player. And then Rosenthal gets on the mic and says this, like, I'm actually hearing we could be approaching that $750 million plateau. And then it's like, okay, well, now is another person saying it. It's not just Buster Olney. Yeah. It's not just wheels falling off. And it's not just somebody being like, you know, Steve Cohen is a wild man. He could buy a statue. And then also Juan Soto. It kind of feels sourced when all these parties start converging on these facts and figures. It means that they know something and they want you to know it too. Or it could be that Steve Cohen will outbid everybody by $50 million is accurate. And they're hearing that a bunch of teams are at 700 right now. Could be that too. It could be, for instance, our beloved New York Yankees, maybe they have a 13-year, $650 million offer with a Garrett Cole-style opt-out on the end of it, where if Soto triggers it, it puts two $50 million years on the back of it. So it becomes $15,750. But in reality, it's probably going to be a 5-year deal. And then he'll leave again at the age of 31 and make a ton more money. There are a bunch of parameters. I don't think it's going to be a flat $15,750, no way out, no deferrals. But if everyone's saying that out loud, there's probably a reason for it.
Yeah, at the very least, maybe that number was, or maybe that offer was pitched at some point, and now, again, like Yoshinobu Yamamoto last offseason, other teams had to get a little bit more creative in terms of what they were going to offer. Either way, I'll believe a Steve Cohen mammoth offer when I see it. I don't believe that this is reasonable in any sense of the word. Like, remember when Aaron Judge signed for 9 years and $360 million, and everybody was laughing about how that was an overpay and it was too long.
And the Padres, wanted to go to 400,
yeah.
And oh man, they're crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. They wanted to go to 400 for another year, and this contract is paying Juan Soto $10 million more a year and is extending him farther into his late 30s, early 40s than it does Aaron Judge's contract. And hate to say it, but Aaron Judge is a better player than Juan Soto. He is. We've seen it happen over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of what he's capable of. October baseball, completely different, but what he can offer defensively, the power that he brings to the table, the fact that he can hit for contact, OBP, and all of that, it's very much comparable. He just won the AL MVP, and Soto was on his team. So I know Soto's free agency is unique. I know he deserves a ton of money. I know he deserves a security in excess of 12 years. But the fact, again, that we're talking about him making more money than the greatest baseball player of all time in Shohei Ohtani doesn't make any sense. And I don't like where this is headed. Same breath, the Yankees do this, great. I have a little winter meetings prediction for the Yankees if we get there. But
I don't think we should talk about that. Yeah, obviously, that sounds like a good idea.
We shouldn't talk about the winter meetings at all. They start on Sunday.
They're not important. They start between now and our next show, but they're not crucial.
It is what it is. The business of baseball has reached heights that don't make any sense, like a player for $750 million. I don't know who is that valuable. I mean, apparently Shohei Ohtani is that valuable based on the returns of his contract. But yeah, look, if the Yankees do it, great. If they don't, I'll fully understand it. I don't know if you're going to get on Hal Steinbrenner for not going above the largest contract of all time to retain a player who's been regressing defensively for years. And you would have to sign, alongside all these other aging players. Juan Soto's contract will align with so many other long-term deals. And look, those are mistakes too. And those shouldn't prevent the Yankees from signing Juan Soto. But the Yankees have to make the most of what they're given. And committing all that money and all those years to Juan Soto, it just seems irresponsible. But I'm not going to complain about it if it happens.
That being said, I still feel stronger about their position in this derby now than I have at any point throughout the offseason.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know why.
I have barely even entertained the possibility that they could re-sign him. All of that swirling Red Sox stuff definitely spooked me. The Red Sox people are still fighting internally. We've now got the Dominican reporters who had the Red Sox signing him last week or making a strong push are now all pivoting towards saying, actually, we're hearing that he may prefer the Yankees, which does that make me feel good? Not really. That actually kind of seems not good for New York's cause. But it is this hilarious thing that goes on Twitter now where everyone is like, oh yeah, that's gotta be leverage. Everything is leverage. I don't actually think Scott Boras is using these Dominican Republic reporters as leverage.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't believe
that would be
that's
wild.
True. It would be a wild thing for him to be doing. But I believe those people are hearing from people they know and trust information that they're receiving information or they're speculating. Whatever they're doing, I don't think Scott Boras is planting information in a fleet of Dominican Republic reporters. So here's what we know right now. Mark Feinsand, we actually don't know this. We know that Mark Feinsand said he believes this, that the Yankees will get a chance to match whatever the last offer is. I would buy that as well. That's sort of how Scott Boras' negotiating works. But it also implies inherently that the Yankees will not have the top offer, that they'll be matching something from either the Mets or Blue Jays. Don't discount the Red Sox in the process, but I would discount the Red Sox in terms of having the highest offer that the Yankees have to match. If for whatever reason the Red Sox do have that highest offer, all of this logic and reason goes out the window, and the worst part of my brain takes over, and I just say, okay, great, then fucking match it. Make them go away. Like, whatever. If the Red Sox do have the top bid and you have the chance to match it. That said, that was Feinstein thinking logically and believing. It's not advanced knowledge of the process, knowing that the Yankees do have that opportunity. John Heyman just tweeted something I find very interesting, and we will get to John Heyman's and the backup plans and all of that later in a little bit. But Heyman's tweet verbatim, since this is after we started live, all 5 teams, Yanks, Mets, Dodgers, Red Sox, Jays, remain in Juan Soto Derby. And don't assume anyone's a heavy favorite. He has said very patient in his selection process, but his decisions believed within days. Who cares about that? I might be the minority. I don't know. I read into the order in all of these tweets. And I've definitely been cataloging over time where the Yankees are listed, because by and large, it's listed as either Mets, Yankees, Red Sox, or Mets, Red Sox, Yankees, whenever this comes out. Now, all of a sudden, the Yankees are in first. So either that is Heyman trying to use the Yankees in the final throes of this to drive up leverage, drive up the Mets price, and get a larger price to bring back to the Yankees, or it is legitimately they are pulling ahead. Heyman said yesterday that he's never felt as good about the Yankees in this process as he does right now. That combined with the Feinstein report about matching would lead you to believe the Yankees have a really good shot at this. But the estimated contract, the $750 million, that does not sound like a Yankees contract to me. That sounds like a Blue Jays or Mets contract to me. And I highly doubt he goes to the Toronto Blue Jays just because whatever they pay Juan Soto, they have to then pay Vlad Guerrero Jr. Because Juan Soto is not going to the Toronto Blue Jays with Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s contract uncertain.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, there's no security there. Like we've talked about their payroll before. The payroll is a little bit bloated. They have a lot of guys coming off the books within the next year or two. So then Soto is Will Smith meme standing in the middle of the room alone. Yeah, at some point. And do the Blue Jays think they're going to win next year if they sign Juan Soto? Unless they make 3 other moves that are high impact, like I wouldn't really give them a chance. The Blue Jays have regressed massively over the last 3-4 years, and there's no reason to think it would. It'd be very Yankees-esque if they thought, oh, you know, it'll turn around. Like these guys are good, and it should happen at some point. So I guess now's the time. Like that's Yankees' flaw. That's what Brian Cashman's front office does. They scoff at regressions and they suggest that, oh well, that'll figure itself out, won't it? No, it won't. The person's just bad, and the warning signs have been there, and people haven't been following them properly. Yeah, but like you said, I'm oddly confident about the Yankees' chances just because, again, I don't know what these other teams offer. Like, I think the most salient point is if this was all about money and everyone's been saying what they've been saying about Steve Cohen, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. The contract would be signed. Juan Soto would be a Met. Steve Cohen would be standing over everybody and have the KO punch over Hal Steinbrenner, and that would be that. But we're not. I mean,
a lot of people misunderstood. I tweeted this yesterday, and a lot of people got in my replies like, well, then you don't know how negotiation works, buddy. And I'm like, okay, I definitely do. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that this should have been resolved months ago and he should have, signed with the Mets the day after the World Series ended or whatever. I'm just saying, and I'm implying something that some people pick up on and some people don't. If Steve Cohen, here's the logic, right? People say, John Heyman said it on his live stream yesterday. He also kind of offhandedly and dismissively said that, and then Mets accounts aggregated it as like a Steve Cohen power move. Heyman was talking about the Yankees and how they were in a stronger position than they've been in. And he said something like, of course, the Mets are still very much a part of this. People have said that Steve Cohen's willing to outbid any offer he receives, but the Yankees are in a stronger position than he just sort of said it with his eyes rolled, and then Mets accounts aggregated it with a picture of Steve Cohen with the laser eyes, like Dark Cohen. I'm ready to, take on all comers. But here's the thing. If Steve Cohen, let's accept this is true. Steve Cohen is willing to outbid any offer by $50 million. We accept that's true because Michael Kay said it once, and then everyone accepted his fact, and Heyman also heard he's just going to do, Cohen will do whatever it takes. That's what Heyman said yesterday. So let's accept that as true. Whatever the largest offer is, Steve Cohen just keeps dismissing it and matching it or raising it and sending it back. Okay, fine. Why are the other teams participating in this farce if it's an accepted reality that A, Juan Soto wants the largest contract possible, and B, Steve Cohen is always going to provide the largest contract possible because he keeps getting other contracts and topping them? Both of those things can't be true. Because if that were true, then why would the other teams continually being, bid up Steve Cohen just to raise the price of his Mets deal further when it's clear Steve Cohen doesn't care about money? So you would think that would be, okay, some minor win. We didn't get Juan Soto, but at least we made Steve Cohen pay $740 instead of $640. He doesn't care. He'll still sign Corbin Burns if he is what I'm being told he is.
Correct.
Right? If he's this megalith, then who gives a shit that you made him pay a little bit more, because there's no little bit more. Unless he was planning to pay $500 and you made him pay $8.2 billion, then there's no amount of money that could possibly put a dent in it. So,
or unless it's an image thing where it's like, well, we have to get this bidding up because if the fans find out we're not going to pay $625, that will be an outrage. Yeah. But either way, your point is, like, if Steve Cohen is who everybody says he is, what are we doing here?
And then let's say that Juan Soto desperately wants to go there and it's not the money. Or let's say that his desire is just money and that aligns 100% with what Steve Cohen can provide. And who cares about the player development and who cares about the rotation and Pete Alonso? If those were the sole motivations, I want the most money, I have the most money, then this would have been done a long time ago. It tells me that Juan Soto is interested in the Mets' money, but that money might not be the sole focus of these negotiations. Because if it was, then it would have just been some teams dismissively being like, I'll do 640. I don't care. I know I'm not getting him. So yeah, I'll do 690. I'll do 720. And then Juan Soto and Steve Cohen have the monetary agreement in the middle of this process. And it got done a week ago and he gets announced. Look, it's probably going to resolve Sunday. It's sooner than we thought it was going to resolve. He's going to the winter meetings and he's going to do a press conference. He's going to put on the hat. It'll either be pinstripes or blue or Red Sox or Blue Jays. But it just feels like this, if their two ambitions align, most money and I have the most money, and Juan Soto enthusiastically wanted to be a Met, that we would have gotten to a finish line already. This hints to me that he's having a little bit of trepidation accepting just, wow, the Mets have the highest bid. The Mets and Blue Jays have the highest bid, and those are not the teams that I would prefer to go to ultimately. And I will, but I'd rather not if all things were equal. So can we get things a little bit more equal? That is my guess. It's just a guess.
Yeah, it's a good guess. I am of the philosophy, I just don't believe anything that I hear.
You can't.
Until it happens.
How could you?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I like how you're going through the tweets, figuring out where the Yankees are ordered. That
Why?
is at least a
Why am
creative
I
way.
doing this?
It's a creative way to go about it. But like people who are living in time, be like, oh no, they said Juan Soto's going to sign before the winter meeting, so like that's going to happen, and then you live your life the next 48 hours thinking that's going to happen, and then Andy Martino comes out and he's like, yeah, he's probably going to sign, at the winter meetings on Sunday or Monday, and then you're like, oh great, now it's happening Sunday or Monday, and then next report comes out, oh, Juan Soto's going to drag this out until the end of the winter meetings. I think it's going to happen either slightly before the winter meetings or at the beginning because the floodgates can't open until this happens. So the league as a business has an interest in, I think, this resolving itself as quickly as possible. The fact it hasn't yet, I'm not sure why. Maybe the hoopla of the winter meetings again, like to get maximized attention, get him there in a press conference, get everybody buzzing while they're there. And then you got to strike behind the scenes if you don't get him, or you got to pivot quickly when you do get him, because let's be honest, the Yankees have a lot of work to do beyond Juan Soto. And if they do invest all this money, they're going to be limited, because that's the story every offseason with this payroll. I know they have money coming off, and they have departing veterans that they don't plan on retaining in Anthony Rizzo and Gleyber Torres. Jack Curry said that the other night, but there's a need at first base, there's a need at third base, there's a need in the rotation, there's a need in the bullpen, so on and so forth. Quick news here. All these former Yankees, what the frick, man?
What the frick?
Kyle Higashioka, 2 years to the Rangers, pretty big deal too. Is it $13.5 million? Luis Severino with the largest contract in Sacramento A's history, 3 years, $67 million, and
Also the first,
the first in Sacramento A's history, the largest in all of A's history. And Aroldis Chapman in the division with the Red Sox. Everybody was laughing about that. And that's a good full circle moment for us, because what we deal with for years, Red Sox fans calling us scumbags because the Yankees went out and they capitalized on a low market for Aroldis Chapman with all the allegations facing him. And we said, hey, we agree. I can't do anything about it. What am I going to do? I'm not buying an Aroldis Chapman jersey, but I'm not watching Yankee games because this guy exists.
It makes it really unpleasant, but there was really nothing for us to do.
And so the Yankees at that point underbid the market to get Aroldis Chapman, who was the best closer in the league, to be their closer on a World Series contending team. Red Sox, what are you doing? Paying Aroldis Chapman an elevated 1-year rate to just join a bullpen without any ulterior. At least the Yankees were, I guess, in theory, if you want to call it taking advantage, they were taking advantage of a depleted market because of a heinous allegation, and they put it to work as best they could. In terms of I don't support it by any means. I would never do it if I was a GM, but they did it and they paid for it. So hey, there's the karma. They spent $130 million on Aroldis Chapman when all is said and done, and they got nothing out of it. But at least there was that excuse where it was hey, we're getting the best closer in the league, and it's one of the missing pieces on this World Championship team that we need, so we're doing it. The Red Sox have him as a 7th or 8th inning guy on a maybe wild card team. So explain that to me, guys. But anyway, these 3 Yankees are on the move. Best of luck.
I hate Aroldis Chapman, and I forgot about him until you mentioned him on the podcast. That's the funniest possible outcome.
Easily.
And he's still just about as talented as he was in terms of inducing swing and miss. But he's aging 1 year. This is actually crazy. I just found this out about the aging process. Every year, he ages 1 year. So it gets likelier that he breaks down and is even worse at his worst qualities, including finding the strike zone and command specifically, not just control, because everybody can hit 100 these days. We've seen it. And when he can't land that slider or the fastball, 100 down the middle is pretty enticing to the Mike Brosseaus of the world. So somebody tweeted man, the Caleb Durbin, Anthony Volpe back-to-back jacks at Chapman or, at Fenway off Chapman are going to go so hard. I think it was Cespedes Barbecue. That would go hard, but it is so much more likely that we would see one run Red Sox lead, walk, wild pitch, strikeout, hit by pitch, pop out, walk for a 1-run Yankees lead. I've seen it a trillion times. I'll see it again. And Aroldis Chapman, this is no great shock. X, the application X we all love, is struggling to load right now because it's Drek. It's the absolute worst. But Aroldis Chapman's ERA at Fenway Park, it's real bad. I'm scrolling X to try to find it because it was in the 5s, and I had.
Just go to Baseball Reference.
Yeah, well, I love the app X, so
I'll do Baseball Reference real quick. I love.
I'll talk about Severino and Higgy. Just best of luck to you. No,
I love Higgy.
There. A lot of money, not going to pay that for a backup option on the Yankees. He went off for the Padres. I wish he was still there, but is what it is. Luis Severino, $67 million. I mean, honestly, it's also not fair to you for me to keep going off about Luis Severino because you hate him more than anyone, and I don't really have that strong an opinion. Although we heard rumors that the A's were trying to get their payroll above $100 million, and this is a way to do that. It's $22.5 million a year for the next 3. There's an opt-out after year 2. If you're Severino, I guess you got to take that security, and the A's are trying to get MLB off their backs and get them to accept them as a legitimate franchise again. This is a slap in the face to Oakland. This is not fair to Oakland. But also, while you're saying this isn't fair to Oakland, remember, this is Luis Severino we're talking about. Mid-rotation starter, getting paid like a number 2. This market is crazy. He's not an ace. He's not someone I trust in a big game. He's not someone I trust to even remember the start time of a big game, let alone deliver. And I don't really enjoy Luis Severino and what he's become either, but your hatred of him makes mine look downright pedestrian.
Yeah. First of all, Aroldis Chapman, 5.71 ERA and 1.85 WHIP at Fenway Park in 17 1/3 innings. He has 27 strikeouts, but
yeah, he'll always have 27 strikeouts. That is true.
15 hits, 17 walks, so 1 walk per inning. No stranger to that, and 2 home runs, 3 wild pitches, 2 hit by pitches. Bad. So obviously you're pitching in a hostile environment as a member of the Yankees for the most part. That's where most of those outings came from. I don't like those ballpark dimensions for him either.
I think he's going to be pitching in a hostile environment as a member of the Red Sox too, if I know my Red Sox fans.
But yeah, that's bad, and that's not worth $11 million, regardless of how Aroldis Chapman is progressing as he ages, I guess. Whatever. Again, best of luck for Luis Severino. This pisses me off for many reasons. One, this fucks the entire pitching market now. If Luis Severino is getting $67 million, what is Corbin Burns, Max Fried? What is Nathan Eovaldi getting?
Which we now have to care about, by the way. Corbin Burns, Max Fried matters to us.
Yeah, because Nathan Eovaldi was on my list for winter meetings predictions, and now I don't know if he is. I don't know if he's
off my list.
He should be getting paid more than Luis Severino, in my opinion. Severino, though, just to me, never serious about winning with his last 2 moves, and it's not even. It's not baseless in terms of. It's not like I didn't like him when he was a Yankee just because he didn't deliver. That wasn't it. There were high expectations for him as a Yankee. He constantly failed in the spotlight for the most part. You go back to forgetting the start time of a playoff game in 2018. You go back to not communicating injury issues with the team that essentially laid him off for 3 years, 2019 to 2021. He pitched in 7 games. Then you go back to all the disputes with the organization. He called them out multiple times. He fought them on being placed on the 60-day injured list in 2022 because he suffered an injury that would put him out for upwards of 8 weeks, and the organization didn't want to take a chance. Then he returns in 2023 and has the worst season of any starting pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. Then he goes to the Mets, takes jabs at the Yankees, which is fine. It's like, okay, cool, cute, whatever. And then mentions that the biggest difference between the Yankees and Mets and why he's pitching better is because there's no expectation to win on the Mets. He literally said that in an interview. We have it clipped on yanksgoyard.com. We couldn't believe, I had to replay it 3 times when I heard it before writing about it because I was so shocked and just taken aback that someone would even say that. So he went from highest leverage environment in terms of expectations for winning to a downgraded environment, openly admitting that for 1 year, performing better, kind of not pitching well in the playoffs at all, regardless of what people say. And then now going to the place with perhaps the least expectations of anywhere. This is a team that's relocating to Las Vegas, and the stadium building plans there are not confirmed. They think it's 2 or 3 years. It could be 5. We don't know. They'll be playing in a minor league stadium for the foreseeable future. They will be located in Sacramento, which, again, nobody cares about. So this move to me, I understand people are always trying to secure the bag, right? Like, you got to do what's best for you in your future. There were suitors out there for Luis Severino that weren't the Athletics. There were suitors out there for Luis Severino who were probably willing to pay $20-ish million a year. There were suitors out there to probably willing to give him flexibility on his contract. He chose the A's. Just confirms that he was never serious about winning and that he prefers a lower leverage environment, which is fine. But and again, Yankees' fault for extending him when they did. Yankees' fault for not cutting bait when they had the opportunity to and decided to buy into that last option year because they wanted to see their money's worth because they cannot possibly have a deal that doesn't go their way. But yeah, I mean, this is the perfect ending for anybody who disliked Luis Severino as a Yankee. It's completely validating for the Yankees and their fans because of his performance, all the unnecessary drama that came with it. I mean, you go back to his groin injury with the when they were pitching against the Brooklyn Cyclones. He met his multiple injuries. He said it felt like the groin tore off his bone and it was like a grade 1 strain. And then he felt like he got shot when he strained his oblique. And it's just like, what, dude? Why? Stop. But I'm just glad this drama's gone. And now we will barely hear from him in Sacramento. So whatever, man. Goodbye.
Stevie, Sears, Miguel Andujar, Waldachuk, Luis Medina, all our boys on the Sacramento A's.
Enjoy.
That'll be great. Okay, let's end this with a brief discussion of the Plan Bs, which we've known forever, as well as your winter meetings, predictions, and any thoughts. Those are more important to me. But yeah, we did get a deluge of Plan Bs. And if you're looking for pessimism on the Yankees Juan Soto pursuit, this is where you'll find it, because we heard about last night a 90-minute Zoom call the Yankees went on with Max Fried's people that went well. They got another call planned. Michael Kay dropped this. Then we heard about the Willy Adames desires, which Jack Curry talked about on Monday's show, but then Mark Feinsand dropped one saying the Yankees are prepared to take a big swing for him if they miss on Soto. Then came the news that they'd met over Zoom with Corbin Burns in November, but then John Heyman or Mike Puma added that it was actually this week as well, maybe a second meeting. That led to John Morosi on MLB Network this morning saying, I don't know if he's going to the Yankees, and then talking about all their Plan Bs. Soto, not Burns. But hey, if you want to feel good about Soto to the Yankees, then you want John Morosi in your corner saying it's not happening based on him filming Aaron Judge in the San Francisco lobby and based on the Ohtani on a plane last year. But it has, if you wanted to find pessimism, that's where you'll find it. The spike of Plan B discussions, the Plan Bs are never as good as the Plan A. I prefer Juan Soto. That said, there are going to be some sliding doors moments this offseason. There is a chance that a team goes Adames Fried and outperforms the Soto team during the length of Soto's contract because they retain flexibility and the Soto team does not. Because Adames Fried is going to be $350 million total, and the Fried price rises every day because of the Luis Severino contracts of the world. But yeah, it's going to lead to a bunch of deviations. And I thought this was all leverage because Fried and Adames share the same agency, and that agency is not Boris Core. But when we started getting Burns, John Heyman tweeted also during this show that the Yankees could do both Burns. The Yankees could potentially, possibly do both Soto and Burns, but of course they'd look to save money elsewhere if they did. I don't know who that's carrying water for necessarily. Yankee fans who want some assurance, or I don't know what that does for Boris. A little bit, I guess. But the potentially, possibly, I mean, even Heyman is sort of winking and laughing there. I don't think they would possibly do both of those things. And now that he's talking to a Boris guy in Burns, it does raise my eyebrows a little bit in terms of Plan B, getting your ducks in a row. That said, would be stupid not to talk to the Plan Bs as you try to acquire Soto, who's unsigned. And the winter meetings are starting, and no one has been signed yet. What do you believe? Fried, Burns, Adames, any of it?
I believe that it's the Yankees' obligation to engage with every big name free agent. And I think we've seen that over most of the recent off seasons, with the exception of the Harper Machado thing, which was incredibly weird. Outside of that, they are the most valued team in baseball. They need to be talking to these people. They need to be doing their due diligence. A Zoom call represents, if they flew somebody out, I would say, oh, this is serious. I believe this. Zoom call's nothing. We're doing a Zoom call right now.
I had a Zoom call with Noah Syndergaard 2 weeks ago. Like he said that was easy to set up. I'm not signing him.
Yeah. Noah Syndergaard's not flying out to your apartment to chat for 15 minutes. You know?
The weird thing is that he tried to, and I think he was here, but I wasn't home. So it actually kind of sucked for all parties.
Am I buying any of this? Like, hey, if the Yankees do Soto and Burns, like I could see it happening. What does that mean though? That means they are attaching top prospects to DJ LeMahieu and to Carlos Rodon, and they're getting rid of Stroman, and they're getting rid of those guys. And like, I would be down with that plan. Maybe you keep Rodon and you guarantee you get rid, you attach Dominguez with LeMahieu or Spencer Jones with Stroman or whatever, and you get rid of both of them, and that frees up all that money to make it happen, then great. That's a plan, in my opinion. And again, like you look at the issues, Jason Dominguez playing out of position, not the answer for the Yankees, so you might as well trade him. Spencer Jones with a historic K rate at AA this year, even though he turned around, it's like, yeah, you're not trading either of these guys at their highest value, but if they have value to these other teams and you can get some money off the books, then go ahead and do it. But otherwise, I think it's Soto or bust, and then it's going to be moves at the margins if they sign him. And then if they don't sign him, then they will have the money to throw at Burns. They'll have the money to throw at Adames. So I'm buying that interest is real, not hinging on Juan Soto, or it's real hinging on an actual plan to get other money off the books if they're actually diligent about it. But we have seen over the years they don't get creative. So I'm just buying the fact that they talk to people to see what's up. Maybe they drive the price up for some rivals. This example being Burns with the Blue Jays, Fried with the Red Sox, and then they move on and see what else is after that. But yeah, I'll make it more of a concrete decision on this when Soto makes his call.
I love Willy Adames. It would really interest me to see him in the Bronx more than either of these two pitchers. That said, Willy Adames is just an awesome second move to make after you've signed Juan Soto. I don't know. I agree. If I walk into the offseason thinking I'm going to get Juan Soto and then next offseason I could do something even more creative and I could just keep filling holes internally, I see what I have in Dominguez, then I'm excited. But if I'm told, okay, you went into this offseason with Soto expectations, you signed Willy Adames for 6 years, 160 or whatever. He's a culture changer. The power lags. He sort of goes in and out. Somebody had a chart showing that he's sort of had similar fluctuations offensively to Gleyber Torres. That's not what you want to see, especially because you're saying goodbye to Torres and Rizzo. We now know that officially. Jack Curry going to be on the Michael Kay show today at 4:00, presumably to talk about Juan Soto. You should be listening to that. You'll get a lot of information, ideally, or at least all that we can possibly know at this point in time. And if he starts going on about these plan Bs, then you know all you need to know. He mentioned them on Monday's show, but he focused on the Yankees' efforts to retain Soto. And so if he starts it the same way and just Hal Steinbrenner wants this guy in right field for a long time. Now, he could pivot, of course, but the Yankees' primary goal is to retain Juan Soto. Then you'll know that the Yankees' primary goal is to retain Juan Soto. If he starts off by saying, this is getting pretty expensive for the Yankees, they hope to have the player back. They loved him. They hope they made an impression. But at the end of the day, this is about getting creative. Then you know exactly the opposite. And we'll hear more about Cody Bellinger in the days to come.
Yeah, he's part of this equation. Adames, another pitcher, Cody Bellinger, like that will be the plan B with like another shorter term pitching option, I think, too.
Bellinger, I think, is the most likely. But let's see what goes on. Before we sign off, your winter meetings predictions, your thoughts.
Oh, man. So I think Soto's coming back. Like we said, unreasonable. I mean, like I'm not like punching other fan bases down and saying this is absolutely happening. I just have odd confidence about it. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, all right. Other ones. So I think we sign Paul Goldschmidt, we sign Nathan Eovaldi, we trade for Alec Boehm, and then we sign 3 relievers, Jose Leclerc, Hunter Stratton, Kyle Finnegan, at bargain prices. Tommy Kahnle's gone because I think his market's too high, whereas these couple of these non-tendered guys we might be able to get on the cheap, which is the Yankees' favorite. Matt Blake works with them, but I think that's going to be the vibe. It's Soto and then these little shorter-term reclamation projects that have high upside that the Yankees can work with. Do I fully support it? I don't know. Boehm is good. 2 years, can play third base. You can move Jazz off third. First base, you can roll with Ben Rice, or again, we could entertain a Bellinger trade. Paul Goldschmidt will be here, so that'll be fine. Ben Rice is the backup. In my projections. Problem remains the outfield, but again, if Soto's here, we'll figure that out later.
I have to dive deeper into the relief market. I do agree they're going to pick up a few of those. I do think Soto comes back. I think it's wild to say. It feels crazier to say by the day, but I'm more confident now than I was 2 weeks ago, a month ago, when I was barely even entertaining this, because now I've seen the way it's played out. I do think Juan Soto returns. This is not, like you said, 100% confidence, 80%, even 70%. But I went from thinking Mets 55, Yankees 40, and the field 5 to bumping the Red Sox up to a reasonable 10. bumping the Mets down to 40 and putting the Yankees at 50, and no one else is even involved. I think the Blue Jays and Dodgers have already been eliminated. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And then beyond that, I do think Josh Naylor gets traded to the New York Yankees. Long-haired wild man, 30 homer season, not too far in the distant past. Cleveland's willingness to trade him has been reiterated again today ahead of the winter meetings. The timing of that means something to me. And then I think Marcus Stroman is also traded at the winter meetings, though I do not know the destination. Given the fact that Severino is making $22+ million, Stroman's salary looks like a bargain at this point. The Yankees would attach a top prospect. The Yankees would also pay it down, and there are plenty of teams that need innings eaten, and Marcus Stroman can do that. The San Francisco Giants were a rumored destination last year. I would go ahead and say they make a lot of sense this year, especially as they continue to try to spend their money. And I think at the end of the day, the Giants get Corbin Burns by the end of the winter meetings. The Giants and Yankees come together on a Marcus Stroman trade in exchange for the Yankees will eat like 7 of his $17 million, and they'll get Wade Meckler and a bullpen type arm in return. I like Wade Meckler a lot. I saw a Rays account tweet that they wanted him this week, and I want to say I liked him before I saw that, but now I like him even more. Well, weigh in. Let us know what your predictions are. We will see you here on Monday, but please turn your notifications on, subscribe, because we're going to be coming at you all winter meetings long with some guests. Danny Wexelman will be joining us once again. We're not sure when any of these things will happen because everyone's scrambling around covering baseball news. Got a high-profile guest. I will tease. I will give you no more specifics, but we're going to try to nail that person down as well. You're not going to want to miss these. Make sure you turn that alarm bell on so when we're here, you see us. And if you miss us, join us on all podcast platforms in the aftermath. I am Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
Ding! That's the notification. At Tommy's_takes. Find us at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do not forget it. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. On top of the podcast, there is plenty of written content for you. That is where we will be reaching you when we are not live. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for all the support. Have yourselves a great weekend. Winter meetings it is in a couple days, and we'll see you then, baby.
Sure.